Want to show how to create shapes in Jolt, and so let's start right away. I have created two type of components that represent the bodies the Jolt bodies in a real engine, and these are the Jolt bodies maker component that allow me to convert any actor to the Jolt body, and the Jolt primitive component that allow me to represent the Jolt body for gameplay purposes. I can easily change the mass, the size of the shapes, and so on. So let's start with the Jolt bodies maker components shapes creation, which is much more complex. I usually for the Jolt primitive component have primitive shape, so box spheres, so there is nothing really cool there. But for the bodies maker component, there is a lot of cool things. By checking the make Jolt shapes that is responsible for creating the shapes depending on the components, what it does is taking the components target and casting it so to find the type, and for the specific type it creates the shape. Let's see the box component, for example. It extracts the sides of the box and generates the shapes. Again, nothing special for generating the shape. And for the make Jolt shape, for the static mesh component, this is very interesting. It fetches as first thing the body setup that contains all the information on how to generate the collision for the static mesh. Let me open Unreal Engine for a second and show something very interesting. As you can see here, I have a simple box that contains a little box here, so this is a simple collision. If we go into this panel, we can add many other shapes. We can add, as you can see, some other subshapes. All these shapes are basically part of the same body. They are rigid and they are relative to the center of mass of the body, meaning that they are not they are part of the same body essentially. What it means is that we need to create a compound shape. All these informations here that represent the collision information for the static mesh that can be visualized here on the right side under the primitives box, primitive section, are contained into the body setup. If we open the fetch asset type and then make asset shape, so we can notice that we are iterating over the edge geometry that contains all the primitive shapes defined for the static asset, sphere, box element, and depending on whether they are set or not, it's generating the shape. This shape here is then used for generating the compound shape, so that if you have more than one shape, they can be part or arranged in a way that they are rigid relative to the body itself. In Jolt, there are two types of compound shapes, and they are static or dynamic. For the static compound shapes, usually you don't want to change their allocation, their hierarchy at runtime, because it requires to delete the previous shape and recreate them again, and that's expensive, but it's very fast to process. So the static compound shape is very good if you don't want to change the composition of the compound shape at runtime. But if you want, you can use the dynamic shape that will allow you to do that much quicker, but of course will cost more at runtime. So this is in regards of the composition of the shape for the static mesh. Something that I want to show is the cache system. Here for the body setup, I am using the body setup pointer, which is guaranteed to be always the same for all the instances of that static mesh. I am converting it to an ID and using that ID to cache the compound shape generated. Notice that this type of mechanism is used for other type of shapes. For example, for the capsule shape, I am using again a uint64 ID allocating the sides of the compound shape, as you can see, and using it for caching the shape. I am doing the same for the sphere and the other shapes. What I'm trying to show you here is that I am using the sides to generate the IDs for the primitive shapes. In other words, this allows me to cache all the shapes and reuse the shapes whenever they share the sides. So for example, if I have two separate static assets that both uses a sphere of the same size, even if they are separate, they still use the same sphere thanks to this system. And this is very cool because it allows to reduce drastically the amount of shapes within a scene. So when it takes in generating the shape, the primitive shapes, in Jolt you want to always use the settings. This is a common way of generating things in Jolt. For example, to generate a body, you want to use the body settings. And here, indeed, you have to use the sphere shape settings in order to generate the sphere. Same for the box and so on. I don't want to enter the details on how to generate each shape because I think it's trivial. Again, probably worth to show how the tree mesh shape is generated. It takes the triangle mesh from Unreal and converts the data to be understood, and converts the data to Jolt using the functions that I already showed on the past videos, and then again it generates the shape. So thank you very much. This covers everything in regards of the shape creation. I remember you that I have a Discord channel where I am available to help you if you have any question or you need help with your own implementation. And thank you very much. See you next week. Bye.